लाइक हर कोई ऐसा सोचता है, हर कोई ऐसा सोचना चाहता है कि ही और शी इज अ गुड पर्सन, राइट? अगर कोई तुमसे पूछेगा सीरियसली कि ब्रो आर यू अ गुड पर्सन, I am pretty sure that you're going to respond that obviously, bro, I'm a good person. I've never done anything bad. I've never committed a crime. I have never, like intentionally manipulated or hurt somebody that bad, right? But the thing is, everybody is self-biased, right? So you might be wrong in this decision. Let's see how this experiment proves that. Let's see what this experiment brings up. Okay. So this experiment shows how vulnerable people are to power and status, and how easily can you corrupt people and make them evil, bad, dominant, and also how easily you can make somebody hopeless, submissive, powerless, right? Just an obedient slave. So the Stanford Prison Experiment was conducted by a research team which was led by a person called as Philip Zimbardo, right? In the Stanford University. This happened in 1971. There were 24 students that were selected, and they were randomly placed in two groups, Group A, Group B. Group A was the prisoners, people who are going to act as the role of prisoners, and Group B was the guards, the prison guards, right? They were randomly chosen. And by the way, all the people that were selected for the interview, they were healthy, bright, and intelligent students. They never had a history of violence, they never had a history of anything bad, they never have done anything bad or acted in this way in their life. They were completely normal, healthy people just like you and me, selected for an interview. Okay. So selected for the experiment. The experiment was planned for 2 weeks, but it was terminated in 6 days because how much of the psychological and emotional stress that the students were going through. So prisoners were given numbers to maintain anonymity, right? The entire environment was set up in such a way so that it will make the experiment look as real as possible. Okay. The subjects were given, like the prisoners were given prison clothes, and they were treated as prisoners for the experiment as long as the experiment was due. The guards were given guard clothes, and they were also given a lot of freedom to do whatever they want. There were only two rules that the guards could not break. The rule number one, which was you cannot hit somebody, you cannot do physical violence, or you cannot abuse somebody physically. The second rule was you cannot keep somebody in a solitary confinement for more than 1 hour, for more than 60 minutes. You cannot keep anybody in a solitary confinement. So the entire experiment was set up in the basement of Stanford, and they did everything to make the experiment look as real as possible. Prisoners were given numbers to maintain anonymity, and students who were acting as prisoners were also given the choice or the freedom to write letters to the family, or to make the case for why should they be released in the open, or for why they are not guilty. But it didn't take very long for the guards to show the abuse of power, right? Within 1 day, one guard has hit a prisoner. The prisoners tried to rebel on the second day, but their beds were taken away. Guards shot a fire extinguisher in their cell to further punish these prisoners. They used physical and psychological abuse, including things like sleep deprivation, to punish and intimidate the prisoners. They were, also threatened to sent in the solitary confinement unit, or various such psychological and physical threats were given. Right? Prisoners were forced to wear dressings and stocking caps the whole time. Sometimes guards would put bags on the prisoner's head. Within 2 days, the prisoners rebelled against the harsh environment by the guards. The guards became so brutal to the prisoners that 2 prisoners had some form of nervous breakdown, and one of them developed a nervous rash all over his body. And somebody else went on a hunger strike. They completely refused to eat anything. While the guards were giving their orders, the prisoners became subdued and apathetic. It was noticed that the guards, who were completely normal people before this experiment, they started acting very dominant. They started abusing the power. They started using everything that they can to, kind of maintain the control or on the inmates, on the prisoners. So the prisoners also were following the rule so well that even if the guards were being a little bit extra brutal, they were not, rebelling, or they were not like nobody was standing up against the prisoners. Right? Everybody was just tolerating the way things are going. But because things went out of control very soon, guards started abusing their power very soon. On just the third day, a prisoner started to cry, scream uncontrollably, and threaten to harm himself. Two other prisoners were let go in the next few days. One of them actually refused to eat. When Zimbardo's girlfriend came to visit the experiment, she was horrified and asked to stop the experiment. She threatened to break up with him if it didn't stop, so that on the sixth day, the experiment was stopped because of the Zimbardo's girlfriend. So what is the moral of the experiment? So the first thing, it shows how quickly people adhere to the social norms or to the social rules that are given, right? So जब लोग बोलते हैं कि human beings are social animal, you don't really realize the intensity of such a brief and such a normal sentence. For you, it might be like, yeah, obviously people want to do what other people are doing, but no, this is deeply rooted in human psychology. You have no idea what you will do unless and until you are actually in a prison. This is why people say that don't judge other people, right? Because you would have no idea that if you were put in that situation, how would you react? You might think of yourself as a good person, but that's only because you were born in privilege. You were born in such a way that you did not have to. You did not have to choose to act in an evil or a bad way, right? The same thing happens with a lot of people who are like criminals or people who are like bad, right? We all think that they are inherently bad. These people are inherently bad, right? Like they are inherently violent, they are inherently bad. But the thing is, like, we never understand, we never know, and we can never know as a normal person. You will never know how much the situational factors affect a person's behavior and a person's psychology, and how much randomness, like their life experiences, what happens, what kind of people they associate with, what do they hear in the news, and what kind of random events happen in their life. So you have no control over these things. So this experiment really shows that people are neither good nor bad, because because all the participants that were chosen, they were completely healthy and they were randomly put in two different cells, right? They were told to act in a certain way. They were told to play their roles well so that the experiment would look real and people would be able to measure how it affected the prisoners and how it affected the guards. So it shows that people who have power or are given dominance and status have a very high chance of becoming corrupt, right, and throwing away all the humanity in order to exercise their power. And it also shows that people who are put in a submissive role quickly adapt to it and act as a loser, and they act very submissive and they start to feel hopeless, depressed, anxious, and they immediately get themselves into a victim mentality. They immediately find themselves that they immediately start talking to themselves as if they are victims. So simply giving somebody power and status can have a huge effect on the way they act, on what they think, right? There is a saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You may think that the guards were naturally cruel and abusive people, but no, that was not the case. You might think that the prisoners were naturally submissive and obedient and apathetic people, but no, they were not. They were all regular people who came from good backgrounds. They were all in Stanford, so they were a little bit above the average IQ. They were all smart. They were all healthy, psychologically, mentally healthy people, right? Because getting, like, whoever you are, if you're getting into a college like Stanford, Harvard, like any kind of Ivy League college, it's a big deal. It's not like not anybody can get into those kind of colleges. So multiple experiments like this have shown that these things are true when it comes to humans and also other mammals. The kind of effect status, power has, in your thinking, in your behavior. The effects of power and status is so dramatic and extreme. Note that out of the 50 or something people that who was in the experiment, nobody was actually a bad person, right? So there is a great book called as The Winner's Effect, right? In The Winner's Effect, the author talks about a kind of fish. So there are kind of fish in a river, and there are alpha beta fish. Okay, the alpha male fish are very colorful. They are a little bit big. They are more aggressive. They are more muscular, and they have just more serotonin and other positive chemicals in the body. When sometimes agar galti se, if a fish, if a alpha fish dies and the beta male fish takes the place of the alpha fish, almost instantaneously, right? Almost instantaneously, the beta fish goes through a complete dramatic transformation. The beta fish that takes the place of the dead alpha fish becomes more colorful. It becomes a little bit bigger. It becomes more aggressive. It becomes more territorial. It becomes more, risk friendly. And there is no change in that. The only change that happened there was the change of status. Since the alpha fish that was already inhabiting that area died, this fish, the beta fish, can come and take over that area, and hence it goes through a winner effect, and it changes its biology, it changes its biochemistry, and its brain chemistry. It changes the way the fish behaves. Right? The same is going to be true to you. In a lot of these experiments, it is observed that when a person is randomly given power, is randomly given like some kind of power and status, more often than not, they tend to abuse it. More often than not, they tend to take advantage of the power to get what they want to get. There are some fundamental principles, right? All human beings are selfish. Given the chance, everybody is going to do things that are going to be in their self-interest, right? Experiments like this show how little you are in control, right? This is why you have to kind of look a little bit deeper into your brain, look a little bit deeper into yourself, and ask yourself, like, hey, what kind of role am I playing right now? Am I playing the role of an independent thinker, or am I playing the role that the society has simply imposed on me? Like, am I playing the role of, okay, now you are a salesperson, or now you are a manager in this certain job, and this is how you have to act, right? So it's very easy to become blind when there are social forces around you. It's very easy to become blind, and it's very easy to kind of just submit to the social forces and discard all kind of free will that you might have, right? So one of the things that you learn from this experiment is that don't be very overconfident that you are a good person, right? Learn to look in your darker side. Learn to look at the things that you don't like, right? Learn to look at what you what people call your shadow self or your dark side, and learn to look at it. Learn to look at the things that make you a little bit uncomfortable, because to be honest, those things are within inside you, right? Those things are inside you, and those things can control you if given a chance. If you want to be on the top of it, if you want to be a good leader, if you want to be a good partner, if you want to be a good friend, if you want to be a good person, if you want to live a life in which you are in control, then you have to understand that how flawed your mind can be, and you have to find out new ways to tackle this. You have to find out new ways to understand that when are you simply when are you being guided by social forces? When are you simply giving into the peer pressure or whatever the social trend is? Don't give into that. Think originally. Learn to think independently. So this was the Stanford Prison Experiment for you guys. If you like the video, take a moment to subscribe, take a moment to like the video, take a moment to comment what other experiments like this are on your mind or something that you want me to talk about. In future videos, I'm going to talk a lot about these kind of experiments, and I'm going to talk a lot about how flawed human mind can be. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.